Yo, what's up, everybody? And welcome to my way too early Battleground Blitz midnight tier list. There's a lot still coming. Talents are on the way, talent points that we have to work with. We'll be able to get all of the hero talents, all four of those columns or whatnot. And there might be some tuning and some damage spread overhauls, but it's pre-patch and I'm bored and I wanted to make a tier list. So I'm going to. Also, it gives me an opportunity about 2 or 3 weeks into the season to do a re-review of this video. You know, go back, look, laugh at myself for all the mistakes that I made, or maybe we made some predictions correctly and, you know, do a re-review video. I think you guys really liked that when I did it in War Within. So I'd be happy to do that again. It's kind of fun. Also, that means this is a lot of speculation. Going off the vibe check a little bit. So if you guys have found some strategies, some interactions, some really powerful tools, some new PvP talents that are going to work very well in a Battleground Blitz environment, then you guys in the comments below can tell me like, hey, you got that one totally wrong. It should be up here at A tier. It should be even an S tier, you know, because of all these reasons. I found this crazy tech and I want you to look into it. And I'll be like, wow, that's incredibly cool. That's going to be really good. And we can discuss it and it'll be super fun. So very excited to see what you guys come up with. But for now, let's see how much of this I can get right. I'll do the best that I can. So we're going to start with tanks. And let me close up my BNet, make sure we don't get any interruptions. And now we're going to start with the tank tier, which is its own tier because tank lobbies are forced. You have to have one tank versus another tank. So they're a little weird. They don't play the same as other lobbies. And as a result, I just want to put them all on their same tier. They're generally a lower impact than DPS and healers anyway. But I will order them in how likely you would want to, you know, or how much you would like to see that tank spec on your team. And we'd probably start with like Guardian would be the best thing to see on your team because they can sit bases, they can get bases, they can spin really well, they can actually run the flag like in tank lobbies. The buff you get from running the flag goes away and only the tanks should really be running the flags in most situations. If you can do it, sometimes that doesn't work and the Prez or, you know, something else has to run it. But Guardians can get it across and they can stealth to the flag to get it and pick it up. So they just have all these tools that makes them kind of keep up with the other specializations. And Guardian, you'd probably want to see the most. Then you have stuff like Blood Decay and Prop Pala. Blood Decay can kidnap a healer, generally a priest, which means you're turning the game into a 7v7, but you have 2 healers and they only have 1, which is really, really debilitating for them. So just because of that, even though it's insanely cringe, I mean, it's a tier list and that probably would make them pretty darn good, right? Turning it into a winnable 7v7. So that's something. Then you have Prop Pally that just has a ton of utility, immunities, base hitting prowess, you know, ways to capture bases with Hodge and Rep. So they're just an overall kind of useful thing. They're not quite as good at running the flags as a Guardian for sure. But, you know, if you put it in the right person's hands, they could absolutely just go get a base and win you the game, especially in those tank lobbies when they're already kind of bizarre scenarios at hand. And then we have stuff like, you know, this is really hard to rate. Maybe Prod over Vengeance, maybe Vengeance over Prod. We'll throw Brewmaster at the end. Brewmaster was like the lowest cutoff in all of BG Blitz last season, and I don't think anything's going to change with that. People don't play it because it's just not very impactful. You have Sweep on a cooldown, pretty decently long cooldown, and then you have Song of GG, so maybe you could capture bases, but most every sitting spec in the game has a way out of that. So that's probably not going to work out super well. You need more of a toolkit than that to go get a base. It doesn't really have much AoE disruption. It has no AoE damage at all, and that does not look to be changing at midnight. Vengeance and Prot Warrior just have a little bit more utility. Prot Warrior has Bodyguard and Intervene, and it has this crazy PvP talent where when you press your wall, you're also immune to all healing debuffs, like the healing debuff you get with the flag in your hands or Mortal Strike and stuff like that, allowing you to top them. And they added that specifically because Prot Warrior had like nothing to do in tank lobbies, so they just made it a really good FC for that reason. Or Orb Carrier in Temple for that reason. So that brings it up. That's why I kind of had these, like Vengeance has more mobility, although Dragon Charge from Prot Warrior is kind of crazy. Have you seen how far that goes? But this is kind of how I would order them. And that's about all the talk of tanks I'm going to do for one day. So there you go. Now they're ordered for you in my best guesses. We'll start with DK here at the top. And I generally have this overrated, I think. I always put DK in S tier, so you can see I'm like the opposite of bias for my spec. I'm not trying to say it's bad, but I think I overrated every single time. I think it is good because it has double grip and Chains of Ice, undispellable slow. It has a double blind or a quad blind, a multi-team AoE stun, good on-demand damage, good AoE burst, cleave. Death Charge makes it have some mobility. You have Delirium, which is a PvP talent that stops the mobility cooldowns of other players, of enemy players, which is really unique to exactly Frost DK, and that makes it pretty cool. And then you have some cons, though, and I think the cons I don't give enough credit when I rate this S tier every time I do one of these tier lists. But the cons are, it doesn't really have pad AoE damage, so it is susceptible to getting pseudoed a lot. It does have a lot of CC immunity, but, you know, in-cap roars, roots here and there, eventually maybe you just get kited because you also don't have ranged damage. So without rot or ranged damage, like, I don't know, Unholy has or Ret, they turned Ret into a ranged class at this point, right? And Frost DK is still all melee range, no pad. So if you do get kited by... And it seems like it's impossible to kite you, but then you think about Prez, Dev, Augment, Outlaw Rogue, Sub Rogue, things with immunities to slows or cloak or step or grapple, and you just get kited and they're out of range of you and they have an orb in their hands and you're kind of like just stranded. You get slowed one time, you don't have a death charger, and then you're just stuck because you don't have any range damage. You don't have pad pressure. Your diseases don't do that much damage. Your frost fever. So I think it's an A+ if I were to give that designation. But I think I always have this overrated because I just don't pay quite enough attention to those cons of being, you know, really kiteable, especially since there are maps where you're just not having a good time. Now, you can capture market on Deep Wind Gorge and Arathi Basin. You can cap Blacksmith by doing a grip, blind, try an AoE stun, get their trinkets, then he follows up with CC and you cap. You only need 4 seconds to cap and you have a lot of double CC with double blind, double stun. So that's really good. But if you already have a class that needs to spin mid like a warrior, and then the lock maybe wants to go up LM and you're stuck at mines, you just don't have a base sitting toolkit. You don't have really a base assaulting toolkit. You don't have immunity for yourself and others like Ret down at the mines fight. You're terrible on off cards. Sometimes you find yourself just, you're just not really a jack of all trades, so to speak. You are really good at what you do, and I think that makes you A tier. Okay, I talked about that for a long time, but that's because it's my spec, and there you go. But I will give the nod to Unholy for S. I think I saw an Unholy in pretty much every one of the high lobbies when Unholy players were playing. They were doing a great job getting a ton of MMR because they have all that stuff that Frost has. Chains, double grip, minus the AoE stun. They still have the AoE blind, but then they have range damage. And that means on the temples and on the FC maps, and when you're getting kited and when you need to make swaps, you can always just do that from anywhere. You don't have to be directly in the fray. It allows you to be a little tankier. Again, not being able to be kited makes you a demon on temple. You have so much pressure, AoE pressure, rot pressure. Your damage is debilitating. It's very difficult to heal through. It's hitting everybody all at once. You can swap quickly to people now that wounds are gone, to people who don't have defensive cooldowns. You also have triple putrefy for AoE burst damage now. That's a new thing for Midnight. And then you have this amazing set of army of pets kind of damage profile where you get all these lesser ghouls and Magus of the Dead and all this stuff, and you're like, yeah, maybe that's not so great because team fights pets get cleaved or rooted. Nah, you still have the AoE damage from blowing them up, right? So you still have all of that, and diseases and cleave from clawing shadows. You still have that AoE profile that Unholy DK loves, but now in a base, right? When you're going for a base assaulting, think of BM. It's really difficult to 1v1 a BM because they just kite and line and stuff while all their pets kill you and the range damage kills you and the shots kill you. That's exactly what Unholy DK can do right now. All the while you're trying to line the pets or CC the pets, you're just dying to the Unholy DK pressing Clawing Shadows or Death Coil from across the map as well. It's just really, really difficult. They also have a pullout of Stealth, Raise Abomination, for all those pesky stealth classes that will be coming at your base or sitting at base, rogues, druids, hunters with camo. So they just have this bizarre kit where every situation they can find a way to be valuable on a base, on temple, on an FC map, good peels, good damage, good burst, right? So Unholy still will continue to have that S rank nod from me. This one might be controversial. Demon Hunter I didn't see a lot of them in the high lobbies. I think it's because it was the end of the expansion though, and it's not a very high representation spec. Like, I don't think it's ever been overplayed recently. At least that's what the ladder seems to suggest. Now there could also be a problem with like mobility power creep, where classes are starting to finally catch up to the crazy mobility that Demon Hunter has. Now, that's not to say that Demon Hunter still doesn't have like the best mobility you could have, but with dragons and the double blink and the slow immunity, like even DH doesn't have slow immunity. You can still peel them. They also die in stuns. And there's a lot of sub-rogues, believe me. Spoiler alert, I should have made a god tier, but we'll do something. Spoiler, but DHs can be slowed. They can die in stuns. They don't have CC immunity, so in team fights, they can get pseudo CC'd a lot. They can just die. They can get peeled easier than a lot of specs. They do have the Vengeful Retreat CC immunity, but that's not the same as like AMS and doing damage, right? Because you're back flipping. So you're not like owning people while you're back flipping in midair. You can just pre-vengeful a kidney, which is a really sick skill shot and absolutely a good tool, which is why I still have them in A. In fact, if you want to do some sort of ordering deal, we could probably do something like that, I guess. Again, they still have mobility, AoE stun, AoE damage, AoE mortal strike. They're great at peeling for their FC by sighting a rogue out of stealth, imprisoning them into stun, into slows, into huge damage, right? They've got an amazing, so again, I'll put them over Frost EK there. They've got an amazing utility toolkit for that. You still got Darkness, right? And Blur is a decent defensive. I think that got changed up a little bit going into Midnight, but I don't think they're as good as some of the S tier specs that you'll see. And Unholy's not even the best S tier spec, as you'll see again soon. So here's the new spec, and it's really, really hard to find out what to do with this, but I'm not going to do a cop-out. I am going to put it high A tier. Like, we're not going to just shove it at B because I don't know anything about it. I'm going to make a prediction that it is high A tier. This is because it has great mobility. It can have 2 or 3 of these little targeted blinks, which allows you to maneuver around the map crazy fast. It has range damage because it's the melee ranged hybrid spec. It kind of feels a little bit like Devastation in that way, where you could play in the fray, but you can always do range damage. It has ridiculous AoE burst and single target burst, which is going to be very useful in team fights, or you could just immediately peel out of a base, one-shot somebody going for your base, be great at peeling, you could even get a base by just popping somebody 100 to 0. This is very susceptible to nerfs, so this is the pre-patch version of this spec, which can actually just one-shot you. So I should probably be taking that into consideration. Maybe it's like more of a mid or low A tier once they nerf that, because it has to, right? You shouldn't be able to kill somebody with one ability press, which is what it can do right now. YouTube video coming on that soon. But Devastation rocked out. Like, every time you had a Devastation on your team, it felt so good because they were fluid and spike damage and range damage and difficult to peel. None of their stuff can be kicked because of PvP talents that they have that make it either unkickable or an instant cast. And having instant cast range damage is crazy. So, watch out for this one. It doesn't quite have the utility. See, it doesn't quite have the utility that you would think. But then again, Havoc, I don't know. Let's just shove it right here, right next to its boy. But that's a prediction. Boomkin S tier, for sure. It really locked in last expansion, and it's going to be more of the same. I took a look at it. It has all the same cooldowns, mobility, CC. It's got Cyclone, which is fantastic for just taking healers out of the game, peeling DPS. It can capture bases. It can sit bases. It has phenomenal mobility. It has phenomenal AoE damage. It can destroy a team fight with how much pad that it has. It can throw in 6 surges all at the same time. Now, some of its astral power generation was removed. I played it a little bit, and it does not have the crazy, like, perma astral power cap that it used to have. A lot of classes, I think, have less resource gen than they used to account for the fact that you're kind of just spamming abilities with no mind to resource gen at all. But it doesn't really matter, because if that's a worldwide applicable thing, Boomkin still has all the tools you would want. Single target surge, pad starfall, dotting everybody. Cyclone is amazing. Mobility is great. Shifting slows is great. Stealth is just an amazing tool to have in BG Blitz, of course, because it immediately allows you to be a base hitter and assaulter. You can come out with Incarn 2 charges of that. You can come out with either charge on an FC. You do your entire load, get every defensive, then get a re-stealth, come out again with your second charge of Incarn, and bada boom, you killed the FC. You can flap across the map on Twin Peaks. You just have all of these different tools, and that makes you an S tier spec. Not a lot of weaknesses either. They're a little squishy maybe, but Heart of the Wild Bear form, Barkskin, maybe Renewal. Feral, on the other hand, I would say B. I don't think too much has changed. Again, I've looked at the talents for this. A lot has changed. It's hard to read every single talent. But I did do some research into this, and it was B tier, I think, before midnight, and I think it would be B tier going into midnight. It is just, it's the stealth melee like Rogue, but it isn't Rogue. It just doesn't have the toolkit that Rogue has. It doesn't even have the mobility that either Rogue spec has, because Sub-Rogue now has step that it can press 100 times, and Outlaw has quad grapple. So it doesn't have the mobility of either Rogue spec. It doesn't have blind like Rogue. It does have clone, but it can get kicked. It's very squishy. In a lot of situations, it can die in stuns. Rogues can pre-feint. Rogue's also got a new talent for a little bit more damage reduction. Outlaw got preparation for cooldown reset, which is absolutely ridiculous. It has crazy AoE pad. It has decent single target burst, if not really, really decent single target burst. But it just doesn't quite have no immunities, no Cloak of Shadows, no evasion. Has to sit bear form to be tanky, which takes out all of its damage. Again, no pre-feint. It can die in its cheap in cap form. Doesn't quite have the overwhelming, and it doesn't have sap, right? Sap makes Rogue at some points. Getting a full duration CC effect, spammable. You can sap out healers, you can cap a base, right? Like just that one button allows you to be the best base assaulter, best base staller. So let's say you have 2 people at your base, you don't have to come out of stealth, right? I think if anybody wasn't convinced, like, what do you mean, man? It's got clone, that's great CC. If anybody wasn't convinced, think about the difference between having to come out to spin a base or doing it all from stealth. Sap, blind, cheap, reset. You have 2 vanishes. How many vanishes does Feral have? How many saps can Feral press? How many blinds does it have? Rogue can do its entire base sitting or base assaulting or slowing out a healer or slowing out 3 people that are coming back from a graveyard. Rogue can do all of that by itself in stealth. And then it can reset 3 times with double vanish. Feral doesn't have any of those tools. No vanish, no sap, no blind. So I think unfortunately, because like you think this is a Feral part of the list, not a Rogue, right? But Rogues are going to be in every single BG Blitz. So when you compare so unfavorably to something with a similar kind of design philosophy to you, the one thing you do have is your AoE burst. Let's be real, much better than Rogue, but there's other specs for that, and Feral kind of seems locked in at B. We should go through all the DPS first and do the healers at the end. So let's try Augment. Augment is like the lowest B possible, or high C. I guess what would be a C spec if not for Augment, right? Yeah, so let's do it. It's good at holding an orb, but its output is kind of low. Oh, but it's really good on off carts. It's the lowest B possible, because if you have them at a mines or a mid off cart or a top off cart or with an orb in your hands, and that's a lot of the bases right there, right? Like that's it's good at Deep Wind, good at Arathi, good at Silver Shard, good at Temple, right? Where it's bad, it's pretty bad, because its AoE burst is not crazy. Sometimes it can't even find anybody to buff up. Its single target burst isn't crazy. Its mobility is amazing. Its utility is as good as Dev, because it's very similar. But, just not having all that personal oomph for your damage profile is weak. But I can't put it at C because, again, it wins off nodes very well, because it's tanky and good support and buffs up its teammates to be able to win that 3v3. It's tankier than most DPS and has more self-healing than most DPS. So that allows it to outlast other things at an off node, and it tends to win those mid fights or mines fights very well. And again, with the orb, with its mobility and survivability toolkit and double wall and blink and hover and all that, right? So lowest B, so it'll be back there. I'll keep putting stuff in front of it, but it can't be a C tier when it has all that tools, I don't think. Dev is, gosh, it's so close to S. Is it just S? I think it's S. Every time I had a Dev, there were so many games that Not a lot of people play this, but if you see Fax or East Wubs play, it's like whoever has the dev on some of these maps just wins because it is destructive, right? It has all those things that Oggs has where it's crazy mobile, great with the orb, can do everything on the go, doesn't have to stop moving, double wall, but then it has the AoE burst and single target burst toolkit that makes it so it punishes you for chasing it. So it has an orb in its hands and you're trying to get a kill, and then all of a sudden it comes back with a deep breath, dragon rage, one-shots you instantly. So not only does it still have the orb in its hand, it uses the orb's damage buff to kill you. It destroys team fights. It destroys single target encounters. It can get to anywhere on the map and just turn the fight instantly. It's got mobility to get there. Of course, that's what I just said. It's difficult to disrupt because it can wall and make itself kick immune. It can wall high and just be very, very tanky for a while. It does everything well. So why would it not be an S tier? In fact, it's probably better than Unholy because I think it changes the tide of the game more often than Unholy does. Again, whenever I saw a team fighting map, it's like whoever has a dragon, Temple, whoever has a dragon is going to win this. It destroys FCs. It can 100-0 them with Dragon Rage, spamming laser beams. It's very difficult to peel. It can't be peeled because of the slow immunity. You can't really even kite it. Is that enough said about Dev? All right, so BM is tough. I've looked at BM, and it doesn't have any abilities left. And I know BM already had low abilities, but it doesn't even have like that Frenzy Bleed cooldown. It's just like 4 buttons in total, even when you count cooldowns. Like, I don't even know what to say about this spec. It can sit a base. It can put sustained pressure on a flag carrier. It's bad at Temple. It's not AoE bursty. It's not single target bursty. Its pets can get peeled and kited and lined. You can jump up Z-axis and the pets take forever to get to you. It's great at probably sitting and assaulting if you try and win the 1v1, but there might be things that have power crept it now in 1v1s. It's hard to find a place for this other than C tier. Even the best BM hunters like a Reed's player, it seems like it wasn't pushed super high because BM is just not like a very high impact spec. It kind of just exists and the other team has to win at the game. Sometimes it might not even get looked at if it just sits a base and plants itself there, which is doing its job. Let's be real. They're doing their job. But sometimes you need to be able to do your job and somebody else's job, like a rogue who can go skip the base and come back. But BM is just kind of sluggish for that. Doesn't nearly have the CC or utility toolkit of some of these other base assaulting or sitting classes. It just seems a little uninteresting to me. Marks was S tier the entirety of War Within. It lost a few things in the capstones. And going into season 1, it's not going to have the crazy amounts of mastery. I think I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian maybe to any other tier lists if they come out and try and get ahead of this and say they're mid A tier. They were S tier all of War Within end of that season. Maybe even season 2, I didn't play it, but certainly at the end of the expansion, they were on every single team and they were amazingly valuable. But I want to try and get ahead of it, right? This is not a War Within tier list. It's a Midnight tier list. And I feel like, especially going into season 1, when, they don't have all those crazy secondary stats to have that raw one-shot power. They lost a little bit of value in their capstones. Maybe if they get toned back a little bit as far as that just aim shot hit you for all your health kind of deal. It's so hard to not just keep that at S and be safe. But I want to be ahead of the game. I don't want to just say everything that was the highest on the ladder in War Within. So my prediction is that Marksman will take just a tiny step back. Remember, that's the second highest tier, A, right? It's good. It's got great range. It's gonna have less range with less mastery. It's got decent utility. It's got fine mobility with the cheetah and then the disengage, removing all your slows. It's difficult to peel because you can get shot from anywhere on the map. It can 100-0 a healer. Still, if you swap off defensives, I mean, it's not like losing all of its damage at all or anything. But I just want to say that because, it was that good because it was the highest output, so nauseating, everything one-shot you spec in the game. And I just don't believe that it'll be that in Midnight Season 1, is, if anything, just from secondary stats not being as high. So that is what I believe, and that could not age well. We'll see. I'm actually going to put Survival kind of next to it in A tier. Survival got a lot of additions to an AoE burst toolkit, which is really cool with this firebomb that it has and this shotgun spread that it has. I actually want to put it above it because, again, I'm trying to be ahead of the game. I want to say something new. Survival has an AoE burst toolkit now. Again, it fires this shotgun bullet storm kind of deal, and it has 2 charges of a bomb fire grenade that does a ton of AoE damage and gives you some AoE fire dots to your abilities. You have a damage profile that includes a lot of magic damage, which means armor is completely pointless, and that is really good as far as teamfight AoE burst specs to go. You can see a lot of them have magic damage, magic. So I feel like it adds that component to its gameplay, which complements an amazing single target toolkit as well. It destroys 1v1s. In all of last season, it was the 1v1 champion of the game. You watch these survival hunters win 1v1s against every class. It just has range damage, but then in your face damage. It can kite, it can burst, it has great walls, it has decent survivability, it has camo, it has good CC to counter your burst, it has stun trap. It really just wins 1v1s. It even has some utility like the mending bandage and the decent self-healing. Feign on a short cooldown now is going to give you tons of removal for dots and a quick wall with that PvP taunt. Survival wins 1v1s. I feel like it's very difficult to peel and disrupt because it can range damage you just like a ranged DPS, but it also can be in the fray like melee. It seems like just a great spec, and again, adding an AoE damage burst profile to a spec that was amazing in 1v1s and made its living off of being in 1v1s. That means, like, let's say they get Deep Hall Ravine, bro. They can sit the cart and then come in and just randomly pop their AoE burst. That's going to be nuts. So I am trying to get ahead of the game. Survival, I think, is just excellent. I could even make it low S tier, but let's not get too crazy. Or maybe that wouldn't even be crazy. Man. Arcane Mage. Not a lot of people played it at the end of last expansion. It has 1 school, so kicking it is really annoying. It does have a lot of burst damage in both situations against single target and AoE. If left unchecked, it has a crazy amount of AoE burst, and that continues into Midnight from all of the people that I've looked at and the Midnight talents that I've looked at. But it can get trained, it can get kicked. It really does not want to get disrupted as it sets up its dam. Its utility is good, but so is all mage utility. It doesn't bring anything too crazy. Its CC and its damage being on the same school also hurts it, unlike the other 2 mage specs that have poly on a different school. It does have ring on a different school, which is kind of nice. It just feels like mages are a little underwhelming, I think. It does have... and it's losing knock. So one of the biggest things about Mage was it could like knock people off maps, or you could literally cheat. I hope that Blizzard addresses this in ways other than just removing all the knocks from the game. But if that's what they have to do, thank the Lord for that. It feels like it's just, again, this is early. Please tell me if you found anything that Arcane can do that brings it up a tier. Again, remember, every time you think about like, okay, well, I could do all this damage to training dummy, or look at the burst, it's so crazy. Think about trying to get that off when there's like 3 people training you in a team fight. Like, then do it. Like, don't just worry about how much damage it could do. Think about like if you're on EOTS and you're like, oh, well, I'll just blink 1,000,000 miles away. Okay, well, now you're 1,000,000 miles away, and they just swap to something else, and then you have to come back, and now you have no blinks, and then they just swap right back to you, right? Like, it's not just exactly the situation you want to be in BG Blitz. Sometimes things are suboptimal, and there are other specs that do better suboptimal. For that reason, I think Fire is, if there's going to be an F tier, look, again, what am I even doing with an F tier if I don't put something there? If I had to put something there, I think it would be Fire. Did you know that Fire Mage lost Phoenix Flames? You know how it alternated Fire Blast, Pyroblast, Phoenix Flames, Pyroblast, Fireblast, Pyroblast, Phoenix Flames, just alternate back and forth. And you had all those instant casts to generate instant cast Pyroblasts during Combust. They took half of that away. I don't know if I'm crazy or something, but what did they give them in return? I looked at everything they lost and everything they gained, and it didn't look like they gained anything in return for that. Like, they just took out 3 charges of Phoenix Flames that were resettable, and that was your instant cast, set up hot streak kind of deal, and they just took it out. Just straight up took it out. So you would have to cast more spells, I would say. You still have the instant cast Scorch if you want to run that, but you had that before too. And now you don't have that. So it's like you're losing things, you're not gaining things. I guess you have to cast Fireball. Like, good luck with that, dude. You are going to get trained. They have a PvP talent that makes them do a lot more damage, but you can never run it because Glass Cannon turns your health to 0 and you just get absolutely plastered. It's not even enough damage to take out the fact that you'd be dead in every team fight always. They get trained. They're very susceptible to rot damage. They're very susceptible to burst damage. They don't really have the pad, especially with you taking Phoenix Flames out. So again, if you have been watching any Mage content creators and everything I just said was wrong, please explain it, because I looked at it, I played it for a little while. I asked myself, I got to be missing something, right? I have to be missing something. So either every Fire Mage creator is complaining and they're like, what the heck did they do? Or I've missed something huge. But I looked, and that's a crazy loss. BG Blitz was not very kind to Fire Mage anyway. I mean, I think most of the Fire Mages got a lot of, well, I won't get into that. There is a way to get some rating on it that I'm not going to get into. Frost, on the other hand, like, let's just do this, right? Frost has, I think, a better damage profile for AoE fights. Its new shatter mechanic is kind of cool. It allows you to just lance to spike people. It does have all the roots and snares. It destroys warriors. I watched Omnivore get really, really frustrated by Frost Mages with all the roots and snares anywhere. If he's ever caught with a Frost Mage anywhere near the middle of the map, he's never leaving the middle of the map. So it can be very, very, very destructive to have a Frost Mage on a comp that can't deal with its peels. It does still have really high spiky damage with Glacial, Glacial Strike. And it has Ray of Frost now is kind of built into its toolkit, and that does a nice amount of single target damage on a channel. So if you can outrange somebody, you can just kind of be like laser beaming them with the Frost Ray. And then it has Frost on a different school than Poly, and then you have Ice Wall, which all the mages have, but now when you have the other complementary tools, it feels like that's better. Like, having Ice Wall and also just being a good spec feels better than just having Ice Wall as your only reason to play that spec, right? It kind of just feels like you would play, but again, and oh my God, I feel like the secondary stats are going to hurt Mage as a whole. Secondary stats being much lower going into Season 1. But if there's something I'm missing, feel free to let me know. We could put Frost Mage over Og, so that's good. I said Og would be at the bottom of it. There you go. Windwalker Monk, really, really underplayed. Let's put it higher than those, though. I have a lot of melee up here. Oh, no, ranged. Okay, we're good. Ranged, yeah, good. Ranged. Windwalker was not super played in last expansion, and yeah, it gets CC'd. It doesn't have AoE Rot, it just has AoE Burst, but it can get kited on that. People can spread out. Your damage doesn't, like, cling to multiple players or pad multiple players. You kind of have to be upfront on top of them. It makes you really spiky, and you can 100 to 0 a healer if you get the whole setup, but the whole setup with all the CCs flying out in a team fight generally doesn't happen. You can get capped on by any rogue in the entire game. You don't really have a lot of tools to get out of CC, which means even though you have pets to spin, a lot of things have pets to spin, and you might not be able to get those pets to spin if they don't leave a gap. You can get triple cheaped. Well, now it's double cheaped, huh? You can get all of your bursts could get gouge, cheap, clone, rooted, all of this stuff, right? Storm, Earth, and Fire being gone is kind of nice because it means your clones don't also get CC'd. Oh my goodness, you have a new thing called like Zenith, I think, which gives you more burst options in a more applicable to BG Blitz way without getting spam rooted on all your pets as well. So again, B tier I think is a fine place for it, especially considering, you know, it's kind of underperforming in BG Blitz last expansion. So I think that's a good nod to it. But, you know, just middle of the pack. Red is S. Really S. It destroyed nodes. It could spin with Dawnlight and still can. So Dawnlight is a Wake of Ashes dot that applies on you that can spin through everything in the game. I've been cycloned, and my Dawnlight is just a little laser beam going from the cyclone to the rogue, or to the druid rather, and it just spins them over and over. You can't lose a base. You have immunities for stopping to lose a base. You have an immunity so they can't even kill you to win the base. You can spin in CC. You can spin all sorts of different ways. You can put on a physical dot on them that they can't cloak off and they can't re-stealth on. Your 1v1 prowess is just good because you can lay on hands and then bubble, so you can win the 1v1s regularly to either win a base or set a base. You can win a base with Hodge into Rep, Hodge into Searing Glare. Searing Glare is still in the game, though it replaces Blind now, but that's okay because it's better in a BG Blitz environment in almost every situation. Being able to Searing Glare cap is crazy in 2v2s. You can even get it on 3 people. If there's no healer there and nobody that can take it off, you might have just capped on 3 people. If you can get it on all of them, that is crazy. The utility toolkit is through the roof. You got Sank for your healers if you need it. You got Sank. Pre-sanking stuns is a great way to not lose a base. You are destructive against FCs if you're allowed to go offense, but generally you're going to be on defense with that Sank, Sack, Lay on Hands toolkit. You're great at peeling. You're great at playing defense. You have range damage for Temple, and you can kill orbs because of that. You have again, range damage profile, AoE burst, single target burst, hard to peel, can't take a base off of, win everybody. Okay, I said it. Anyway, they should be they're higher than all of those. So I keep forgetting I'm doing it in order here, or at least trying to. Ret could even be better than Boomkin. No, it's not. Boomkin's so good. But it does all of that same stuff in Midnight. I looked at the talents. I looked at the PvP talents. Like I said, I mentioned to you, Searing Glare is in the game, but it replaces Blinding Light. So that's a thing. Don't think I got that wrong. So there you go. I want to do Rogue next. Shadow Priest I'm really worried about because I always do bad at rating Shadow Priest, so let's just do Rogue. Assass, I think, takes a huge step back. Not that low. It's still better than Aug and probably maybe Frost Mage, but if this was a War Within tier list, this would be sacrilegious. Like this would be heresy. Assassination Rogue was so destructive in team fights in War Within that putting it here would almost make you spit out your drink, right? It would be a quad S tier spec. Sometimes people would say, and not me, but people in streams, and I would say this too, but I'm saying other people as well, would say, well, they won because they had the Assassination Rogue on a team fight map. Didn't even matter who it was, because you had AoE Grow, which allowed you to silence their entire team over and over and over again and rupture everything. So you would pad and you would disrupt, and it was a blanket silence, which no other class has except for like DK and Shadow Priest, and they only have it to one person. So one person, and you have it to everybody. So you take this hard CC diminishing return type and you apply it to their whole team, something no other spec in history could do. So you just took a team fight, and now everybody was getting spam stunned, and they're like, finally, I'm stun DR. Oh, wait, triple Garrote. All of this pad damage. AoE Mortal Strike. AoE Shiv. Nuclear Dead, just can't deal with it. Assassination Rogue literally was the reason you won a team fight if you had one on your team. But this is a Midnight tier list, and they took that out of the game. Thank goodness, right? There is now a new way of spreading your Rupture and Garrote to everybody, which is Crimson Tempest. Look it up. Crimson Tempest now takes your highest duration left, your biggest Garrote and Rupture, and spreads it to everybody. Do you still have the AoE pad? Sure. I don't think it's quite as applicable as when you did it the other way, where you could just kind of throw it on everybody instantly. But you still got some AoE damage. But losing that thing that made you the revolutionary, I mean, maybe it's still better than Feral because it has, I should put it up here because it's still Rogue, so it has Sap and Blind. Sorry, you're going to see this here for a while, so if you went down to the comments to be like, wait a minute, dude, it's still a Rogue spec. You're right, it is. It's still a Rogue spec. It still has the AoE bleeds like Feral does, but with Rogue traits, like having double Vanish and Sap and Blind. But it can't be the dominant force that it used to be because its damage profile is nerfed, and its AoE Garrote silence is out of the game. That is not a thing anymore, thankfully. So you're not just completely destroying their entire team. And when you take that out, I swear it's not going to be quite the difference maker. I mean, honestly, I really just want to put it here because I don't want to just give it it's a Rogue, so it's A tier thing, because that's really boring. So there you go. Outlaw is probably, it's a Rogue, so it's A tier. Maybe even higher, honestly. I mean, it's better than Frost AK, right? It might be better than this new spec. Maybe it's better than Mark's. It does have the, sap, blind sort of deal. Of course, that all rogues have, double vanish. But then it has prep to get all of its cooldowns back. So it then has another vanish and all of these tools again. And then it has cooldown reset from a talent where every time you use your spenders, you're getting your cooldowns back. And then it has quad grapple. And when you put those things into a BG Blitz, you have a good spec. It is incredible. It can fast cap nodes on Yetz. It can fast cap nodes on Gilneas. It can fast cap nodes on Arathi or Deepwind Gorge. It can win any node because of its CC toolkit. It's insanely tanky, so it's impossible to get a node back off of it. It has 2 vanishes and then a vanish reset, so then it has another thing and then a cooldown reset. It can cooldown reset its evasion. It can spam feint with cooldown reset. It can cooldown reset its grapples, so the mobility is over the out of the move. Actually, you know what? Is this just S? Because then it can also FC. So what map is it bad at? And it can orb carry. Is it bad at any map? Ooh, low S, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Take a look at that for a little while before you make the angry comment again. I guess it's just S tier, right? I convinced myself. It seems weird to have both one rogue spec is the best spec in the entire game, and then the other rogue spec is also S tier, but that's what it is, right? So, Outlaw Rogue, the only reason I didn't have it S, it seems like all I've said is good things about it, but it doesn't do damage. So that's a big component. It still doesn't. I played it around with a little bit, unless I'm totally missing something. It's just all physical damage, which is physical walls and armor, just completely reduce its damage. It has no magical damage components, and just not very patty, not very burst-centric. It kind of just, it's got Killing Spree, which is a nice option, but, with power creep in this game, so many other specs have so many other sources of damage, and that's why it would be low S tier, right? Because all the other things I said about it were amazing, and its utility and mobility is through the roof, but it doesn't do damage. Unlike this specialization, all the way up at the top, it does do damage. Not really AoE pad, though. I have seen an AoE rupture set actually do damage in Deep Hall Ravine, which is crazy. Deep Hall Ravine, sub-rogue, team fighting. Shout out to that. I've actually seen it. It's crazy. It was at the end of last season. But what it does have, without any question, not even with any memes or anything, is single target burst. Through the moon, over the top, in the stars, over the galaxy, out of the Milky Way, the most single target burst you could really ask for. It's on demand, in cheap shots. It's nearly impossible to deal with. They have cloak to stay aggressive. They have evasion to stay aggressive. They have vanish to stay aggressive. They have dance to get everything off, and if you don't have trinket, you're dead. 100 to 0, gone anywhere on the map. They can just take you completely out of the game while having the entire rogue toolkit that I've now talked about 4 times. Stealth, vanishes, sap, blind, sit a base, get a base, win a base, blah blah blue. They are insanely mobile with step to your teammates in silhouette. And nothing seems to be changing about their ability to just win on every single map. They were the highest spec by far in BG Blitz, Avidance and Calvish and Weed Tyler and all of these guys, showing the true power of the spec. And when you had one on your team, it was always going to be the most impactful spec. It is the best spec in the game. Nothing is even close, and I should have put a God tier because that's what it is. But it'll be at the very top of S tier. All right, Ellie Shaman takes a huge step back. Still has knock, and it might be only... Right? Yes, I think it's the only spec. Maybe it doesn't then. High B? Ooh, God, where are we putting this, guys? Oh my God, this is my first real struggle here. Low A. It's the only spec that really retained its super big knockback, which is going to be amazing on LM or EOTs. Not a great base sitter. Not a great base assaulter. Decent defense. Not fantastic on offense. Pretty good team fight. Has AoE Flame Shock. Still can send the meatballs. Is it better than a rogue spec, though? I'm going to put it in B. Highish B. And I think I just laid out all the reasons why. So I think we're actually just going to move on. Enhance, probably right next to it. It's immortal. It was immortal. I think it's getting a buff to Healing Surge, making it even more immortal. It's literally just a tank spec, honestly, with Ascendance, so it can pressure more than tanks can. You can 1v2 spin a node forever, but you don't have great CC, and your utility is really good for yourself, not quite as good for others. You got Tremor Totem. Your mobility is mid. Your pad is low to 0. This is probably a high spot for it, huh? Again, when put in the best player's hands, it's an immortal spec that wins 1v2s on the regular. But not always do you get to put yourself in a situation where they're just trying to kill an enhancement shaman. Cyclone exists, and you cannot spin from inside one. So I'll be really nice and put it at the exact middle of B. The lock specs are going to suffer in Season 1 from not having a lot of secondary stats. But they're also the gods of team fighting. And they have Gateway and Port and Spammable Fear and decent slows. They were A-ish to... was Destro S? Maybe not. They were kind of A-ish at the end of the expansion, so I can't imagine they're going to be that high at the beginning of the expansion. Remember, at the beginning of an expansion, your secondary stats are low, which means if you rely on that, your output takes a huge hit, and it makes it really hard if you're getting trained, because casting things are so slow that even juking kicks becomes not really super viable for getting stuff off. Now, the Wither hero talent, giving them an instant cast spreading dot, helped in a huge way. The entire expansion it did, and they still, of course, have that. So that's really good for Destro, and it's really good for Afflock. So I'm going to try and rate all 3 of these. Demo is poopy and has to be the only other F tier spec. Its team fighting was fine in the best player's hands, but was punishable, and you could kill all their pets. And their pets got AoE CC'd, and they got lined and kited and Z-axised and rooted and AoE stunned and all sorts of other silly things. Their utility does not really vibe well. I mean, their DR class is something that a lot of people have fear. A lot of people have fears. They don't have like a spammable CC like Cyclone that is better because it doesn't break. They're fine at sitting nodes, but they could actually just get capped on anyway because you could just kill them by a class that does that sort of thing. I think as Unholy DK, you can actually just run at the demo lock and kill them and win their base that way. So I don't really have high hopes for demo lock. The ladder agreed with me last season. We'll see if anything changes. And then let's just do this because they're lock specs. They still have Gateway. They still have good slows. They're still team fight champions. Again, they will just get better as the expansion goes on. But I think this is a healthy place to put both of them. Afflock has the AoE Rot, which is really, really good for playing defense and killing people as they run across Twin Peaks or worse on Gulch. You can gauntlet people. You can own team fights. You can really take the game into your hands. You also have Port knock for LM. There's not many knocks in the game now, though. You can port people out of market, but that's just one base. Like, that's one map in the entire game. So yeah, I like this. You got the port, you got the gateway, you've got various bits of utility for all the maps, but you don't really excel as a jack of all trades everywhere. So A tier is a good thing for them, especially since they'll probably be promoted to S once they have all the secondary stats that you'll have late in the expansion. Okay, we're coming close to the end, and we have the king of mid, I think, is the warrior specialization. Maybe we can even put them higher because they're so perfect at exactly what they do, but exactly what they do is not very impactful. They're great on defense and they're great at spinning nodes, but team fight nodes. Like, you put them on Eots and they do damn and they spin the node and they try and shut down a caster. They don't take over the team fight like a Dev or a Boomkin or even an Unholy would, but they're really, really difficult to deal with that upfront damage in Mortal Strike. But then when they're spinning market, and I watched a billion games of Omnivore, the Frosty Cages wins that. The Warrior does not have the hard CC to win the 2v2 CC cap altercation, right? Warrior has Fear, DK has Lich Point. Warrior has Zerker Rage, but DK doesn't have any fears. So you grip blind and stun them, and warrior doesn't have any extra outs for that. But when the warrior wants to fear to CC cap, the DK has an out. So the DK, like, you just keep losing. You're just there. You're just there, right? You're good at it. You're good at spinning. You got the Blade Storm. You got the Zerker Shout. You could sit in D-stance and you can camp it and you can spin it, and that's where you should be. But you're not like an impact spec. And I watched the most prominent BG Blitz warrior do this over and over and over, and I would assume that's his thoughts exactly. Frost DKs could win the node. He had to stop them from winning the node. You were always playing defense. You were like a goalie. Generally, goalies don't score goals, right? Look, I'm not a good soccer player, but I think if we watched a highlight video of goalies scoring goals themselves, it would probably be pretty short, right? Like, that would be a remarkable thing. Generally, the other guys score goals and you play defense, right? And that's what warrior feels like to me. You're always holding down the game, and you're great at doing that, and you have a Mortal Strike effect, and you got great AoE damage if people stack up for a Blade Storm, if they're foolish enough to do that, and you have Intervene and Fear and Shockwave and Stormbolt, and you can defend your FC, and you do all these things very well. I just don't think you contribute to the win con of the Blitz. You're always as good as your team is good. You make your team better by allowing them to do what they need to do, but you don't get to do those things most of the time. Shout out to Spear on FC maps, though. That does a great job of locking people into place. But a lot of the time you're relegated to defense, and that's why they're the like perfect. Like, this isn't even, I think this B tier grade wouldn't even be an insult in any way. Like, this is like, they're the perfect at what they do, but then, yeah. All right, and then Shadow Priest, I always get this wrong. I always get Shadow Priest wrong. I don't even know. I mean, I guess last expansion, I kept floating between A and B, and then I guessed C, but then I was like, wait a minute, they're great at team fights. They're great at team fights. They got that void crap that CCs, horrifies you over and over. They got stun, silence, or fear. They got swap and decently tanky with dispersion. They can farm precogs and start rotting you guys down. They can mind control people off of things. They can win 2v2s and 3v3s at mines or off nodes because of swap and dispersion and MD and other tools that other specs don't have for that situation. Stun, silence, instant damage. Low A right next to Half-Lock for all the same reasons, and especially the ones that I just said. These could both be rated too high because of, I'm trying to say they're not as secondary stat dependent as I thought, because I think I got burned by that in the beginning of War Within. But low A, the bottom of A. And maybe Assassination Rogue should still be there too, because it has Sap and Blind and Vanish. I mean, it does. It has all of those things, right? Sap and Blind and Vanish. Something like this, because now that there's so many things at A, Assass can really be at the bottom of A, right? And that's good. If these are left to right, then they look kind of nice, I feel like. So let's do that. Okay, finally the healers. This one's going to be hard, but we're going to start with the easiest one of all time. Price. S tier. The only thing that's close to as good as Sub Rogue, if not exactly as good as Sub Rogue. It was S tier the entirety of the expansion and only got better as the expansion went on for War Within. Everything got nerfed around it except for it. I don't know what they're doing. It makes absolutely no sense. They have, and here we go, boys. Double blink, slow immunity, deep breath, CC immunity, cross the entire map. Dream breath, CC immunity, cross the entire map. CC immunity from nullifying that they now have on 2 charges with Verdant, which is also a leap to your teammate. They have double wall and renewing blaze, which is amazing survivability toolkit, as well as golden hour, which allows them to take more healing the more damage they take, and they'll take more damage when they have an orb or the flag in their hands, which they're going to have all the time because they're the best at holding orbs and the best at holding the flag. They are the best FC in the game, like I just said. They have instant healing and fantastic AoE healing. They're great at team fights. They're great at single target healing. They can rebound you. They have good CCs. They have communion that can be used in CC and can give you extra health with a stam trinket and make you immortal while sitting on the cap to cap if that's the way you want to go, or they can just do it while moving and kiting you. They can be immune to the slow, that's supposed to go on FCs that every other FC gets, but they don't get it because they have hover immunity, which also immunes that thing for absolutely no reason because Blizzard has no idea what they're doing, which allows them to kite even at deep stacks. You cannot kill them. You cannot touch them. You cannot win. Prez is the best, period. Everybody played it. It's so good. Nothing is better. Nothing. And it's getting better in Midnight because of the things that I just said it still has, and also because it has 2 charges of Verdant Embrace, which is absolutely ridiculous. They lost nothing that it needs except for putting Communion on a PvP talent, but so be it. They can find a PvP talent for it. They'll never have to get rid of hover immunity, and that's what makes them so insanely good anyway. They are the best healer. The end. Okay, what else is good? Our Shaman is really good. I think I'm going to put a lot of healers at A tier and then go through them. I'll put them at the front of A tier because I just think, you know, healers and DPS are different. But our Shaman, our Druid, and Holy Priest. Holy Priest ended up being way better than I expected. Let's take a look at those 2 first. Our Shaman, actually our Druid struggled in team fighting. Crap, I haven't looked enough at our Druid. This is the one thing I'm going to be completely uneducated on. Our Druid was like, it struggled into team fights and node maps. You know what? I'm just going to do a B from War Within, but that could be a huge mistake. Its ability to heal team fights was actually pretty limited because some of the other healers just had heal everybody at once buttons, and our Druids didn't have a good button for that. It had to hot everybody up. It did have the huge tree form, which was nice, but you know, Healing Tide Totem, Healing Stream Totem, Dream Breath, right? Oh, the other thing I was mentioning was Dream Flight, not Dream Breath. Dream Breath is their AoE heal. Dream Flight, they got so many dream stuff. Anyway, Dream Breath for Prez, AoE heal. Healing Tide Totem, crazy AoE heal. A nice cooldown from Spirit Link, right? So our Shaman, we'll talk about that for a second. Our Shaman has fantastic team fight heals. Decent single target topping from, you know, NS Healing Wave. Riptides on everybody for good hots, which is always good because if people kite you still got the hots on them. And the stream ticks. It had Static Cling, which could get people out of carts, herd people into a team fight. Really, really powerful utility. Lightning Lasso Hex could disrupt their healers when you didn't have anything else to do. You could actually see CC cap help. You could see CC cap. Frost DK R Shaman is one of the best CC capping 2v2s because you could get the Hex off of blind on one of them and then lasso the guy's trinket. You could do all sorts of stuff, half lasso it, which is more than enough time if somebody's already capping, if he's already capping. So our Shaman has a decent amount of utility. Grounding Totem and Tremor are amazing utility tools and just great AoE healing. So not having a ton of mastery at the beginning of the season is going to hurt it, but our Druid just didn't really have the team fighting mechanics and it was nowhere near the good type of FC. It has great mobility, which means it can get to places, but does it do things at those places as well as Prez or our Shaman? Probably not. Good CC, but maybe punished for getting kicked while casting it by a lock or a mage or anything else, those long lockouts, and then everybody starts rotting. I remember hearing all the time in streams like, oh, we had the Druid, so we lost the team fight. It just seemed to really struggle in that regard, and I don't know if they gave it enough in Midnight because this is the one spec I don't know enough about, so you might have to tell me in the comments if I totally missed how many great team fight tools they got. Holy Priest does not have mobility, so it can get taken out of the game by a DK, but it has amazing throughput. So let's just put it right next to our Druid. Our Druid can't get taken out of the game by a DK as well, but it doesn't quite have the throughput that Holy Priest has, or the incredible cooldowns like Guardian and, you know, even Form. Ray of Hope can even be very useful, though also kind of risky to use. So Holy Priest right next to our Druid. Worse mobility, better throughput. Seems like they would be good friends together. Disc was bad-ish. I don't think I can put it entirely at F. It has double pain sup. You know what? It might be F. It struggled because its best thing, Void Weaver, which was overpowered for a lot of the arena season, as I heard, and then they nerfed it because it was so overpowered. Its best thing, allowing to do crazy throughput pressure from damage while getting that throughput and healing as well, because Atonement finally healed for enough for that to be a thing, is harder to do in BG Blitz because there's a billion pseudo CCs and a billion kicks. And a ton of damage coming out instantly. So while you had to set up your healing and were really susceptible to getting disrupted on that setup, every other healer that was good was not those things. So you just the thing you were good at didn't translate well into BG Blitz. So low C is probably a good place to put it. It still has double pain sub, which is nice, and it can run a flag, but then gets taken out of the game by DK and Chains of Ice and Grip, and yeah. So probably just above F is a good place to put it. I looked at the talent tree for this one because I actually really like playing it in Arena, and I played a lot in Arena Solo Shuffle last expansion just for fun, and it does not look like any of those weaknesses are going to be addressed in a BG Blitz scenario. Again, it was great in Arena. It was. So much so that they had to nerf it, right? Nothing gets nerfed if it's not great. HPAL seems to struggle as well. It did... Well, now it does a lot of damage, dude. I played into an HPAL that was doing the most damage. Let's not put it in C. Let's put it in this weird no man's land in B. And then let's just put Mystery River at the end of A. Yeah, maybe right above his S. HPAL has mobility that can be purged. Freedom can just be taken right off you. Susceptible to CC like any healer, but doesn't have the CC immunities that other healers have except for Bubble, which then means it's going to get swapped to in one shot. At least that's what it was. Their defensive toolkit is decent. Spam dispelling things is kind of nice. Its throughput is fine. I think it can do damage now, but will it sacrifice things for that damage and then struggle just like Void Weaver did, right? Doesn't that seem like... I mean, it has Sack and Bubble and Spell Bop and Freedom and Steed, but it just all feels like it's doing a worse version of all those things you see at the top. Its toolkit is so comically worse than Prez. I mean, it just doesn't feel like anything you could add, especially with them adding Prez stuff, it would ever just feel like it's in the same ballpark. Maybe I could just put it more centered in. It just really feels like it's just exactly there, right? Like it's got utility. It does have to sacrifice Blind for Sear again. It does have that Searing Glare. You know, man, Searing Glare, we could just put it right up next to these other healers, right? Searing Glare is a heck of an option. Hodge is decent because you can just randomly find a healer with no trinket, but then it can get dispelled by the other healer. So it's like, it's HPAL, man. What do you want me to say? I kind of like it right. I just wanted to center right in the middle there. And that's what I got. Holy cow, that was difficult. Some of these should be locked in, like Sub-Rogue is amazing. And I think Fire Mage seems like, oh my God, if somebody found something that made Fire Mage anything other than terrible, I would be so shocked. I looked at its abilities and there's only 4 to work with. But some of these should be locked in. Some of these should be variable. I am so excited to see what you guys come up with in the comments because I know there's going to be a lot of them telling me, what you think I got wrong, or if you agree with anything that you're like, yeah, they really need to buff so-and-so. You're right, or something like that. But there you go. Way too early. Midnight. Battleground Blitz. Tier list. See you in the next video, and thanks for watching.